Okay, so in this part of the lesson, inline elements, this is mostly for demonstration, the text and code that's included. You should read in your textbook in the pages indicated, 88 and 89 currently of your textbook, give you an introduction to inline elements and also give you a full list of what's available. I have also included a link to the W3 Schools blog and inline page. This tells you a little bit more about the subject in hand. Right now we're really going to be dealing not so much with block level, that's going to happen later, but inline elements for sure are the ones that you want to know about. And we've already talked about some of these, at least we have emphasized and we have italicized little things like that. Every single one of these in the reference will take you to another page that will give you more information about them. For example, that EM, the emphasized, I click and it just, once again, it tells me that it's a markup emphasized text in a document, and then it gives me a sample. W3 Schools is a really good research tool because you can click on the try it yourself, and then you can indeed try it yourself. It shows you this is, you have to hurry up or you cannot live like this, and then gives you the elements right on the side. What if you had decided not to emphasize but instead to bold? You can try it right there as long as you click the green button above to bold, or rather to run the code, and you'll see what happens on the right. So for practice, this is really good. You can change this back or not change it at all. I'll just put in the EM back to make sure that I understand that EM is an emphasis that italicizes the text. Meanwhile, for this demonstration, this is something that you should practice in the fix-it part. This document is written by somebody who doesn't know as much about modern markup practices as you do, and what that means is that we've covered that in the text so far. So some of this text is incorrect and needs to be fixed. It's your job to fix it. Let's see how much I can fix. First of all, I'm going to highlight the code, the whole thing, right-click and copy. Control-C is your shortcut. I'm going to open it up in CodePen. You don't need to save this necessarily. Of course, if you want to, you're welcome to do so. I will create a new pen and then just spread the JavaScript down. Same thing with CSS. I just want the HTML. I'm going to press Control-V as in Victor to paste. And now I see what's going on the right side. You've won. Congratulations. You've just won dinner for two, etc., etc., etc. Now, what's wrong with this text? I can tell right away that you've won is supposed to be big. It's supposed to be a header 1, and it starts off by being a header 1. But then it continues to be a header 1 through the rest of the page, and that's not how we would necessarily want to code a page. So I know that if we start out with an H1, we definitely want to finish it at some point, preferably in a logical space. That would be at the end of the line. You've won, exclamation point. I will open up an angle bracket and then /H1 to say this is as far as it should go. And sure enough, that happens. We're now followed by another paragraph that says congratulations, and that's in bold. You have just won dinner for two, etc., etc., etc. This is a little bit easier to read, that's for sure. Yes, there's other italics that have already been corrected, but is that all we need to do? Let's take a look, and this is why it would be important for you to go back and read the chart of all the things that are possible, and by all means go back to the W3 Schools and take a look at how many elements there are that you can play with. I'll go through this exercise so that you can see the detail that you need to be looking for in the following exercise. Not this one, this is just for practice. So I know then that we have already fixed the H1, and let's see what else we can fix. There is a paragraph that opens here, and it goes on for quite some time until the end of the page where it doesn't really close. Look at that, that's just a P, so it should have a slash to say that's the end of the paragraph. This will become important later when you start to check what your code looks like and have it get validated by W3, and this will give you an error if you don't fix it. We also need to be checking for things that we already know about. Now, we know that congratulations is bold, but do we want to bring more emphasis to it? And we've talked about this in previous lessons, and rather than using the letter B, which is still valid, it still works, more acceptable and a better way to do it is to say that the text is going to be strong. So I open the tag instead of with a B with a strong, and CodePen automatically fixed the end of the tag for me. Also, and this is something that you need to start reading in in your textbook, Wellesley, Massachusetts, MASS. This is an abbreviation of a state. So, and that's fine. You know, we can tell that it's Wellesley, Massachusetts, and we will even pronounce it when we're reading it. But in order to help those that are using a different kind of environment, that is, some people that have problem reading, they need all the accommodations that they can get so that their accessibility software works more properly and electronic readers don't mess up. We want to specify that this MASS is actually an abbreviation. So I would open up an angle bracket and start to specify that Massachusetts is an abbreviation. So the abbreviation element is ABBR that is listed in your textbook and also in the W3 Schools link that I shared with you. I will close the ABBR. And in the end, it looks pretty much the same, except now you have an abbreviation code that will take you up to the next level in this being acceptable in an accessible environment. So as we continue, although it is acceptable to italicize this book, the Blue Ginger, it really, since it's a citation in the text, we want to use a cite tag. So let me find it on the left side. Let's see, Meg-Size, it's an autographed copy of Meg-Size book, Blue Ginger, instead of italicizing it, which, by the way, shouldn't we use emphasize instead to begin with? We will not change the I to EM just yet as the only recourse. We will say that this is citation. So I will open up the site and CodePen will close it for me. We continue to read. To redeem your price, go to our site and enter your price code. Since the text given to us is a sample, there's a couple of ways that we can deal with a sample code. This currently has a TT RPZ 108BG. You'll see sort of right now what's happening with the code. It looks like it's in a different typeface, and that's by design. A more correct way of doing this, though, is by adding a SAMP code, SAMP for sample, basically. It'll look the same in our process here. It looks like it's a different type of font, typeface. What happens is that when you copy and paste this onto a website, it treats it more like text as opposed to a style, something that already has code in it. So it's a little bit easier for the computer to handle. It's a little bit easier for the accessibility readers to read out loud. I think we're almost done with this. Although, as I said earlier, we have this. You're going to love it. It's in italics. We can use I to italicize for sure, but we want to be a little bit more modern with it and change that to an emphasis. So EM would be the proper way to do so. That way, this little example here has been changed from old text, or rather old code, and brought into the present a little bit closer. In the following exercise, you'll be doing something similar. Be sure that you see and check out all the opportunities that you have in your code to make corrections. And if you have any questions, make sure that you go back and read the pages 88 and 89 of your textbook. They're going to give you a list. It's not too long. It only takes up one page, and it's not a very big page. Of course, you could always check the W3 Access and see everything that you have in your at your fingertips to make changes. Like I said, this was just a sample. You don't need to turn in anything, but play with the code and see what you see.